What if the deepest truth about your life and your reality wasn't something to be sought outside, but rather a silent wisdom that has always resided in your inner world? Have you ever felt that there is so much more to be understood, beyond the reach of your words and explicit knowledge? Your reality is not what you think it is. There is a vast ocean of invisible truths, a hidden language, weaving the path of your every decision and perception. This is not a mystery to be solved, but rather a presence to be recognized. Prepare yourself. That hunch, that subtle intuition, is not coincidence. It is the awakening of consciousness toward a deeper listening. The human being lives thirsty for answers, running after complex maps for life. However, in the rush of the world, we forget to listen to the most faithful guide, the inner silence. Perhaps you are experiencing emotional fatigue, spiritual isolation, or an existential restlessness, even when everything around you seems to be in order. We deeply validate this pain. This subtle discomfort is, in fact, an invitation from your soul for a deep process of self-knowledge. It is the pain that becomes the master, whispering that a more authentic and aligned life awaits. Not all pain is punishment. Some pains are teachers. Throughout this journey, we will discover that true inner transformation lies in the ability to decode the subtle perceptions that shape our world. We will go beyond words. We will explore how a gut feeling acts as a silent beacon, how body language reveals hidden intentions, and how the silences, in conversations and in the media, can be the highest portals of information. This is a journey through the unsaid spirituality, a pause in the noise to integrate invisible truths. It is not about seeking mystical secrets, but about cultivating presence to recognize the wisdom that has always been here. Remember, emptiness is not absence. It is the womb of the invisible. We ask, would you be willing to unlearn what it is to know, in order to finally feel what it is to be guided by your own silent wisdom? Prepare to unlock a profound understanding of your reality. The world is accustomed to honoring what is logical, what can be touched and proven. But what about the inexplicable hunch, that subtle certainty that arises before any rational analysis? Intuition is the first dialect of your soul. It doesn't shout, it whispers. It is the candle that stays lit in the silence of the chest, guiding you through complex situations or warning you of dangers that the conscious mind has not yet mapped. The psychologist Carl Jung deeply explored the idea of the collective unconscious, suggesting that we are all interconnected in a web of ancestral patterns and wisdoms. Intuition is not magic, but the ability to tune into this vast network of information, accessing a timeless wisdom that goes beyond your individual experience. It is not a superpower, but a muscle of presence that needs to be exercised. Often, we only notice the strength of a gut feeling when, by ignoring it, the path becomes rougher. It is in this moment that we understand that true wisdom lies in honoring what does not yet have a name. Symbolic practice. Embrace kindness with the now. During one day, before making any small decision, which path to take, what to eat, what to read, pause for 3 conscious breaths and listen to the first subtle movement that arises in your center. Honor it, not as a command, but as a gentle invitation from your inner truth. But, if the soul whispers, how can we understand the language of the body, the visible map of our inner world? Invisible truth rarely dresses in explicit words. It manifests through an echo, a shadow, a gesture that lasts an instant. Body language, micro-expressions, and even the vibration of an environment are the alphabet of our subconscious. You walk into a room and feel the weight in the air, the tension that no one has named. This is your biology responding to the unsaid spirituality of the environment. It is your sharp consciousness perceiving the disharmony before it becomes a conflict. Carl Jung's work on archetypes and the language of symbols teaches us that the soul speaks through images. Our dreams, memory lapses, and repetitions of patterns in daily life are not accidents, but subtle clues, the reflective writing of our inner world. When we learn to decipher the cave of our introspection and the mirror of self-knowledge, we understand that what we deny within ourselves is projected onto the world, and what we accept dissolves. All healing begins with the acceptance of what hurts. True wisdom invites us to be archaeologists of our own shadows. Profound metaphor. Think of the metaphor of the vase. It only serves to contain what is valuable, water, light, perfume, because it has an empty space in the middle. It is in your fertile void, in the silence between thoughts, that you have room to receive and decode the subtle presence of intuition. If subconscious clues are the microarchitecture of our perception, what is the invisible structure that sustains our shared reality? The reality we perceive is only one layer. Beneath it, there is a complex architecture, woven by nonverbal communications, unwritten historical patterns, and, essentially, energetic fields and frequencies. In contemplative spirituality, we understand that it is not just what happens outside, but what vibrates inside that truly sustains our world. Emotions are energy in motion, and they build silent bridges or walls in our relationships. The Sufi poet Rumi, who united yearning with the divine through love, teaches us that separation is only an illusion. Our reconnection with the self occurs when we perceive the impact of energy on our emotional healing. Your vibrational frequency is not a mystic concept. It is your internal coherence between what you feel, think, and do. Kindness with the now is the key to raising this frequency, as the active acceptance of the present dissolves the resistance that generates internal noise. The mountain of wisdom stands firm, undisturbed, not because it fights the wind, but because it accepts its own stability. Profound reference. The philosopher Alan Watts, integrating Zen and Taoism, reminded us that fluidity is the essence of life. Water, with its archetype of surrender and non-resistance, always finds its way. The rigidity of the ego is what breaks us. The softness of the soul is what allows us to continue the journey. If reality is made of subtle energy, how can we hear the truth when it manifests in its most radical form? Silence. The world is noisy, saturated with data and opinions. But the true challenge for your spiritual awakening is not to filter the noise, but to decode what we call the loudest silences. What is not being said in a conversation? What is omitted deliberately or unconsciously? This absent information is often more potent than any word. Listening to the soul is an act of contemplation. It requires the art of listening beyond words, recognizing emotional nuances, the broken tone, the hidden intention behind the stock phrase. It is not about suspicion, but about discernment and ethical presence. Conscious silence teaches us that the wind, which is the breath of the spirit, cannot be grasped, but it can be felt. It reminds us that spiritual truth is not in the manifest, but in the subtle, in what life holds for those who allow themselves to pause. Reflective question. Have you allowed yourself to be silent enough to distinguish what is said from what is shown? What is the loudest silence that your soul is trying to reveal to you today? After hearing the whisper of intuition, deciphering the body's clues, and navigating the silence, the question remains: how do we embrace this unsaid wisdom in simple, everyday life? The journey of personal development culminates not in the discovery of new formulas, but in the integration of what we already know on a deep level. Embracing silent wisdom means honoring your intuition with the same authority that you honor your logical mind. It is a path of deep listening and empathy, not only toward others, but mainly toward your own self. Rumi, with his poetry, summarized this reconnection masterfully. Don't run after the light. Become the lamp lit in the dark. The living soul already possesses the totality of information it needs. Your role is to cultivate presence and simplicity so that the inner light can shine without impediment. When you stop fighting your pain and instead observe it with compassion, it transforms from an obstacle into a portal for the simple life and the meaning of life that you have always sought. This is true spiritual authority. Symbolic practice. Let the archetype of the river guide you. Visualize yourself as the water. Water is not in a hurry. It has rhythm. Find a moment to consciously walk in nature, observing the effortless flow of life. Allow the ancestry of the earth to remind you that you are not broken. You are in transformation. Silent wisdom is not a destination. It is a continuous process of surrender to the flow of life. By honoring intuition, you begin to see life with a new depth, an emotional coherence that does not depend on external validation. Healing is possible, not through an instantaneous miracle, but through the courage to listen to yourself. Close your eyes for a moment. Breathe deeply. Bring to your mind a moment in your life when your intuition was right, even against your logic. Feel the strength, the stillness, and the authority of that place. You don't need to seek the light outside. You are the sacred dwelling, the temple that resides in the silence of the chest. In the silence, just feel. Repeat to yourself with maximum presence. My body listens to everything my soul whispers. I honor the truth that needs no words. Allow the kindness with the now to resonate in your biology. And what if the existential restlessness that confuses you today is, in fact, your deepest consciousness trying to guide you back to your essential truth? If something inside you has calmed or awakened upon hearing these words, allow yourself to continue. Subscribe to the channel and activate the notifications to walk with us along this fertile road of silence, discoveries, and reconnection. Share your experience in the comments. Your sharing is also a seed of healing for other hearts. And if you are looking for a safe harbor to nurture this newly lit flame and find those who walk at the same frequency, our community is the sanctuary where fertile silence is shared and deepened. Remember, totality is the true strength, not the forced smile. Honoring your truth is the only path. And to continue expanding your sanctuary of clarity, we suggest the video in the card. May it be a gentle breath on your journey. Peace and light.